The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is Team List Tuesday. The teams have dropped for round number 19 in the NRL. And with State of Origin game number 3 coming up next Wednesday night, it is a shortened round in the NRL with plenty of teams having buys with only 5 games being played this weekend. And they range from Thursday, 1 game on Thursday, 1 game on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. So a little bit less rugby league, but that's no dramas, you know. Any rugby league is great rugby league, and especially after the weekend that we had last weekend in the NRL, I think that was probably the best round of rugby league that I've seen in a long time. There were some really close games, the North Queensland versus Manly game, the Bulldogs versus the Warriors game, both of those games really close and going into Golden Point. And look, there were some other games as well in round number 18 that were good games. The Raiders and the Knights, that was that could have went either way. There was a minute towards the end there where the Raiders could have snuck away with victory, but wasn't to be. Obviously, the score probably didn't flatter the Dragons, but it was JWH's 307th game for the Roosters, so that was a pretty emotional game there. And the grand final rematch, Broncos and Panthers, only an 8-point deficit there, but that was last week's round. That was round 18. This is round 19. So hopefully we see some high quality rugby league again, and it all kicks off on Thursday night at Redcliffe KO Stadium up there in Queensland. It is the Wayne Bennett Cup. The Dolphins taking on the Rabbitohs, which is a crucial clash for both teams. The Rabbitohs, they need to win pretty much every single game these days to make the finals. But they do have a massive injury to their star player, Latrell Mitchell. The good news, however, for Bunnies fans is that he won't need to have surgery, apparently, on a foot injury. He will be out for a few weeks, though, which is a big blow for the Rabbitohs, but surgery would have definitely ended his season. So look, it's going to be touch and go. He'll be out for a few weeks, and then he'll be monitored upon his return, I guess. The other out for South Sydney is Cameron Murray on State of Origin duty. Look, for the Dolphins, obviously Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is on Origin duty, Felice Kafusi as well. And look, for them, the biggest loss for them is Jeremy Marshall-King to a foot injury. So he's out for about 8 to 10 weeks, I think it is, with that foot injury. So a massive blow to them. And look, this is a crucial game for the Dolphins. They were hanging around that top 4 for a while, but they have lost. They've only won 1 out of their last 5 games. So they have gone on a little bit of a slide. They are still in the top 8. They are in 6th position on the ladder, but they are on 22 points, and they are a little bit of a logjam with a few other teams on 22 and 20 below them that can jump to 22. So bit of a crucial game for the Dolphins at Redcliffe, their home ground. Jai Gray, the little pocket rocket, he comes in for Latrell Mitchell, so he is a player to watch for sure. And Michael Cheekham joins the starting side with Cameron Murray, as I said, on State of Origin duty as well. So, look, this is going to be an interesting game. They've only played once before last season, 2023. The Rabbitohs got the win there, 36 points to 14. The Rabbitohs, they've won their last 5 in a row, so they are probably the form team at the moment. They are making a late surge for the finals. Look, if you go to their team list, as I said before, Trey Fuller at fullback. They've still got Herbie Farnworth, Jack Bostock. He returns from concussion protocols. Isaiah Katoa, he is going great at halfback. Max Plath, he goes into the hooking position for Jeremy Marshall-King. Tavita Pangai Jr. starting prop. So they've still got a fair squad. However, the Rabbitohs, minus Latrell Mitchell and Cameron Murray, they are a pretty strong side as well. Jack Whiten and Cody Walker in that half and 5'8" combination. Alex Johnson there on the wing. Can he get another try and get closer to that try-scoring record of Ken Irvine's? Jai Gray at fullback, as I said. So, look, I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs in this one. I think it's meaning more to them to get this victory. They need to get up that ladder. So I think even though Latrell is out, I think South Sydney will get this win in front of their future coach next season, Mr. Wayne Bennett. So I'm tipping the Rabbitohs in that one. As I said before, they are the form team of the competition at the moment. So the Rabbitohs for mine. The second game of the round sees the Sharks take on the West Tigers. Now, this game isn't really inflicted by Origin. The news that came out today or yesterday, Monday, Australian time, was that Nicho Hynes had done an ankle injury, I think it was, and then today it had come out that he will need to have surgery, so he will be out for about 8 to 9 weeks. Now, look, the Sharks, they have been struggling over the last few weeks, and look, they've lost 5 out of their last 6, and to qualify for the finals, they need to win 3 out of their last 8. So they can still make finals, just 3 out of 8. So they can still make it. I don't think they'll make the top 4 now. I think that can potentially be out of their reach, but they should get this win against the Tigers. The Tigers, they are in last position on the ladder. They will want to get up off that bottom of the ladder with Parramatta. They are on equal points. I think they're about 6 or 8 points in front. Below in for and against. That's why they are coming last at the moment. But the Tigers, look, they can turn it on here and there. They did go down to the Storm last weekend at Leichhardt Oval, 40 points to 28, but they did put 28 points on the Storm, and they were, I thought, in that game for a long time in the first half, and then it just got away from them, and the Storm went on to win that game. The week before against the Roosters, 40-6, pretty disappointing as well. They did have 2 wins in a row before that. So, look, you don't know what sort of team the Tigers are going to turn up. Obviously, they play different at Leichhardt. This one's at Cronulla, PointsBet Stadium. So, with Nicho Hynes out, Braden Trindle goes to halfback. Daniel Atkinson was playing on the wing last week for Sione Katoa, and he goes into the 5'8" spot. So, a few changes there. Cameron McInnes is there in the lock position. and captain. So, look, I think this is a desperate game for the Sharks. This is probably a game that they would have circled that they should win at home. And even though Nico Hines is out, they should get the win, I think, in this game. They still have a lot of quality players in their side that I think should be able to get the job done. So I will tip the Sharks in that one. The third game of the weekend, 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, sees the Gold Coast Titans take on the Parramatta Eels up there at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. Unfortunately, I won't be up there this year, so I'll have to wait until next year to get up to this game. I love going up to the Gold Coast. I've got family up there that I catch up with, but unfortunately this time I won't be up there. Look, for the Gold Coast, Jaden Campbell returns from a hand injury into the 5/8 spot. AJ Brimson, he's listed as 18th man, coming back from a groin injury. So, look, I don't know if he will play or not. Still a pretty good side for the Gold Coast. They have, the last couple of weeks, they've got a victory over the Sharks, 20 points to 16. They'll be disappointed about that game, I think, because they did lead pretty comfortably and they let the Sharks back into the game, although they did get the win. Previous to that was that massive score against the Warriors, 66 points to 6. Sorry, Warriors fans, about that one. Now, this is the first and only time that they will meet this season. Last year, it was a win apiece to each side. The Titans getting a win, 26 points to 24 at Magic Round, and the Eels getting a win, 25 points to 24. So at CommBank Stadium. So the good news, a little bit of a different Parramatta side this weekend. Blaze Talangi goes into the centre position. Sean Russell has been dropped. Blaze comes into the centre position, and we have another debutant for the Parramatta Eels. He will become Eel number 849. His name is Mulatalo. Lorenzo Mulatalo, to be his full name there, Lorenzo Mulatalo, and he is the twin brother of Ronaldo Mulatalo. That's why you probably think the name sounds familiar, because he is a twin brother of Ronaldo, who plays for the Sharks on the wing as well. So looking forward to seeing him play, make his NRL debut. And look, it is great to see young players make their NRL debuts. Look, especially with myself being a Parramatta fan, seeing these young guys come through. Charlie Geimer, he debuted last week at CommBank Stadium against South Sydney. He is into the starting lock position this weekend, so great to see that happen as well. He had an absolute cracker of a game, and Jake Tungo has kept that wing spot as well that he started with last weekend at CommBank Stadium. Dijon Arcee comes into the halfback position for Mitchell Moses, who is on Origin duty with New South Wales. Junior Paulo is out for the season with a foot injury, and Sean Russell has been dropped as well, as I just mentioned before. Mo Fotuaika is out for the Gold Coast Titans, as he is on Queensland Origin duty. So, wow, I think this Parramatta side is probably one of the better ones that I have seen for a long time. Matt Dury comes into the second row as well. Joe Ofahengawi, that starting prop position, which he has probably been doing most of this season anyway. Just that Junior Paulo has been named on that in that position, but they have swapped on game day. Sean Lane back to the bench. Luca Moretti comes into the side on the bench, so good to see that one. And Bryce Cartwright dropped to the bench as well. So, look, a few changes to this Parramatta side, and look, I must honestly admit it is refreshing to see some changes made to a side that are losing games. It was probably one of my bugbears of Brad Arthur's coaching is there were not a lot of changes during his reign, you could say, definitely over the last 5 years, and there was never really any major changes to a losing side. And sometimes, one, maybe 2 games, yeah, you could probably get away with, but if it happens more than that, then you have to seriously think of making changes to your side to try and get a result. So, I applaud Trent Barrett for making some changes, and I actually like the look of this side. It's going to be tough to go up there to the Gold Coast. David Fafita is playing for the Gold Coast. He will want to make a point that, to Billy Slater, well, hey, you should have picked me in Queensland Origin side, but he didn't, so he will be out to make a statement, no doubt. Kieran Foran, he was man of the match in that Magic Round game last season. He is playing some good footy at the moment as well, obviously up against his former club, the Eels, a long time ago now. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I am going to tip Parramatta in this one. I didn't tip them last week against South Sydney, but I am going to tip them this weekend. I just think this is a well-balanced squad, a well-balanced team. I like the changes. I think they can be pretty competitive. If they can get their defence in order and get off to a good start, they'll get the win. So I'm going to tip the Eels in that one. The next game is the Broncos taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons at Suncorp Stadium, Saturday 7:35. Now, as we all know, the Broncos, they are missing Origin players, Pat Carrigan, Payne Haas, Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo. And they are also missing Jock Madden as well, who injured his hamstring last week against the Panthers. So he is out now. So we have the third string, I guess you could say, halfback for the Brisbane Broncos, Josh Rogers. Now, if my memory serves me correct, he did play against Parramatta at CommBank Stadium. I forget which round it was, but he was the halfback that night. Did a pretty reasonable job for the Broncos. Tristan Saylor is in at fullback for Reece Walsh. So that's a good selection there. I like the look of Tristan. He can play at 5'8" as well, which is pretty handy for the Broncos if need be, but and wing as well. But fullback, I guess, is his position. Jordan Ricky returns from suspension. For the Dragons, a few changes to the Dragons. Obviously, they've got their two best players out representing their states, Queensland and New South Wales, with Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax. So, Michaeli Ravalawa returns on the wing. He takes Zach Lomax's spot. And Jesse Marski takes over Ben Hunt's spot at halfback as well to partner Kyle Flanagan. I think this is going to be an interesting game as well because the Dragons, they can be a little bit like a roller coaster. They can have a big performance, a good performance, a poor performance. 3 wins out of their last 5. Things didn't go their way against the Roosters last week, 42 points to 12. They got a win against the Dolphins. They lost to the Sea Eagles, a big win against the Tigers, and that win in the wet, I think it was, against the Panthers at home. So that was a great win for them. The Broncos, they are struggling at the moment. They have lost their last 5 games. They are sitting in 11th position on 18 points. This is a big game for them. The Dragons are on 20 points. they are in 10th position. So this is they're just above the Broncos. This is a big game for both clubs. If they want to make the top 8, then this is a game that they need to win. Obviously, there's only going to be one winner on the night, and that's what probably makes it pretty interesting. I am going to go an upset. I'm going to go the Dragons in this one, and I hope Coach Shane Flanagan is listening to the podcast. I'm going to tip you Flano, and I'm going to go the Dragons. I just think the Dragons can get away with a victory. I really think that the Broncos are struggling at the moment. There's question marks whether they will make the top 8 or not, but look, I don't know if they can, to be honest. Their injuries and origin period has really ruffled their feathers, I guess, a bit, and interrupted their season. Their biggest loss, I guess, would be Adam Reynolds, who's been out for an extended period. Tony Staggs returns this weekend from personal leave. So that's good for the Broncos there. But look, I'm going to tip the Dragons. The Dragons, they were in last week's game against the Roosters. Despite the scoreline, they were in that for a long time. I know that they do have their two best players out, Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax, but I think they can get the win against the Broncos. A big call there. That could be my upset of the round, I think. So I'm going to go the Dragons in that one. The last game of the round sees the Sea Eagles take on the Newcastle Knights at 4 Pines Park on Sunday, 4:05 p.m. And look, Tommy Turbo, well, he goes back to fullback now. His customary fullback role. Tolu Kula, he's facing a stint on the sideline with a knee injury, so bad news for that one. Otherwise, I think we would have seen him play fullback and Tommy Turbo still stay in the centres, but with that injury, Tommy's back at the back. He's probably preferred and best position. So, look, a few outs for the Sea Eagles. Ben Travojevic undergoing concussion protocols. Daly Cherry Evans, Jake Travojevic on Origin duty. The two Origin captains, Daly for Queensland and Jake for New South Wales. So they are out on Origin duty for the Sea Eagles. Jamie Humphries, who I believe is off to South Sydney next year, he makes his NRL debut in at halfback, partnering Luke Brooks. And Carl Lawton goes into the second row. Nathan Brown goes into the starting lock position for Jake Travojevic. So a few changes there for the Sea Eagles. Now, the Newcastle Knights, they have lost a few players as well to Origin. 3 players, in fact. One to New South Wales in Bradman Best, who is replacing Latrell Mitchell in the centre position for New South Wales. Dane Gagai has got a recall to the Queensland Origin side, so he is back, as is Kalen Ponga as well. I believe both played in Game 3 2022 for Queensland. So they are back in the Queensland fold and are out of this Newcastle side to play Manly. And so, look, to take those best players out of Newcastle, that is a tough one. For Newcastle, their back line, although Fletcher Sharp, he is one to watch back there at the fullback spot. It's a very unrecognisable back five for Newcastle. Their forwards, not too bad as well. Tyson Frizzell, captain, 251 games this weekend. Congratulations on your 250th last weekend. Adam Elliott returns into the lock position. I just think Four Pines Park, Sunday afternoon, again, with more to play for, I think, for Manly. Look, the Sea Eagles, they're on 21 points. They will want to stay in that top 8. They are in 7th position. The Newcastle Knights, they are knocking on the door of the 8. They are on equal points with the Cowboys, who have a bye this weekend. So they will get 2 points. So they'll go 2 points in front. So you could basically say the winner of this game will go into the top 8 for 1 week anyway. I'm going to tip Manly in this game simply because it is at Four Pines Park. They do, again, seem to play better there. Last year, they had a 32-all draw at this ground last year. Newcastle later on in the year to get the win, 28 points to 8. Newcastle, they are looking for their 3rd straight victory. Manly, they got a win in Golden Point against the Cowboys last week. They are 3 from their last 5. But I'm going to tip Manly in that one. So to go through my tips there, a shortened round. Now, I must say, I did get 6 out of 8 last week. So pretty happy with that. 75% record there. So quite happy with that. So if you did follow my tips last week, and I don't blame you if you haven't, because this year I've had a shocker, then you too would have got 6 out of 8. So just recapping the tips there for this weekend, I've got the Rabbitohs, I've got the Sharks, Eels, Dragons, and Sea Eagles. Having the bye this weekend, so you listeners that support these teams, you can enjoy a weekend off and just watch the other teams bash themselves. Canterbury, North Queensland, Penrith, Canberra, the Roosters, the Storm, and the Warriors. So you guys can relax this weekend, enjoy watching some footy without worrying about the result, unless you're in tipping competitions, of course. And prepare yourselves for game number 3 of the State of Origin series, the Decider, which is on Wednesday, the 17th of July, 8:05pm from Suncorp Stadium, between the Maroons and the Blues. Anyway, enjoy your football this weekend, even though it is a shortened round. I do think that the last shortened round, it was pretty exciting. There were some great games being played there. So enjoy your footy. Thank you very much for listening. Good luck in your tipping. And look, go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. See you next time.